Welcome back to the Real Couchwives podcast, where we overanalyze all things Bravo.
Southern Charm Season 9 has officially started, so to celebrate, we're taking a look back at some infamous ex-cast members to see where are they now? What have they been up to since they left the show? So we have chosen our top 8 most memorable cast members who have made a mark on the series, be it in their long or short time. And we're going to start from the Season 1 OGs with Miss Cameran herself.
Yeah, Cameran was like my favorite. Oh my God. I was so obsessed with her on the show, and I was so sad when she didn't come back. I was like, no.
I know, yeah.
Say it ain't so.
Cam was definitely a fan favorite, so she was there from day one. She actually had like a very unique position in kind of any reality television show on Bravo, at least, because she was the narrator. So her job was literally to come in and kind of like, say it how it is and say her opinion. And call out kind of everyone else on their life choices. But she notably kept a lot of her life off of the show. Specifically, season 1, she didn't even mention that she had like a boyfriend. And then season 2, it's like, oh, I got married.
Yeah. I know, it's true. She was always like, especially on Shep, I feel like she was always going after Shep, being like, when are you going to settle down? When are you going to settle down? And little did we know that she was like also in the midst of settling down. And that's part of like why she was asking him.
Yeah.
Secretly, I always kind of felt like maybe they had just such a good chemistry, right? Like, but I also was like, no, Shep is too much of a train wreck. Kim is not.
No, definitely keep it at like the platonic, like brother sister relationship. But yeah, she like her husband was never on the show. And then in doing some of the research on this, I found out that she was approached to actually be on the show from Whitney. So at first, like the sizzle reel or the pitch that Whitney gave was Southern Gentleman. I think that's literally what it was called.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah, and they needed a women's perspective, so they asked her to come, and that literally was her role, was to be actually what she says in a book that she wrote that I'll talk a little bit later and what she's up to now. But she said her job was basically to be like the Wendy of like the Peter Pan boys.
Oh my God, that makes so much sense. Everything is clicking into place all of a sudden.
Right? Because yeah, like she definitely got away with a lot without being forced to kind of like put all like her husband onto the show and all of that. So it was pretty much that she had set those boundaries from day one.
That makes a lot of sense. And also just because, especially for the first like 4 seasons, I would say it's pretty, like, I think it's pretty safe to say that, it was the boys club. It was like the good old boys club. Like they addressed it many a time throughout the series. And it just makes so much sense that you frame it in that way, right? Like now that I hear that like it's just all clicking together.
Until season 5 when all the women band together and it's amazing.
Yeah. They're like, we're gonna take down those boys.
Yes, we'll get into those for sure. But yeah, so Cam was kind of known for being like light and fun and bubbly, and she called out the boys, which is amazing. She just kind of like made fun of them, put them in their place. She also kind of acted like the mother of them. Like she was always giving them advice. She was telling them to like not drink too much or get up early, or like you have to go to work, Craig. Why are you just drinking until 2 a.m? You have to have a job. And what do you remember about her? Like, what do you like most about Cam?
She definitely was one of my favorites. She came into that role of like, she was the everyman for the TV show watchers, right? Like a lot of us, the way that like, we were seeing these guys act, she was saying what we were thinking, or she was kind of putting them in their place in the way that we would want that to be kind of happening. So I think that's why she was pretty instantly, for myself, pretty relatable. And yeah, but I also just think that she was fun. She was interesting. Like, and I think she did get a lot of critiques for not sharing her life on the show. But I would argue that she did like share like a good portion of her life, right? Like she shared her career. She was always there to like be part of the group. She was always showing up for filming. Like it's not like she was always bowing out of things because she couldn't she wanted to be with Jason instead of be with the cast. She even like really like shared her motherhood journey too, right? Like she was very open and very vulnerable with how she was kind of like feeling when she was like approaching that time in her life, when she was in the time of her life, when she was post pregnancy, like in the actual motherhood stage of her life. Like she was very open and honest about that. So I don't really like have a problem with the fact that she hid Jason away from us. because it doesn't feel like a factor to me, I guess.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And that she was very forthcoming with the motherhood piece, even like when she was like, I don't know if I even want to be a mom, and she was struggling. And even up until when she was pregnant, like I was watching one of the scenes when she was like super pregnant, like 9 months pregnant. And JD's like, oh, like, do you love it? And she's like, yeah, like I had a good pregnancy, but I'm not one of those women who's like, oh my God, I want to be pregnant for my whole life. Like,
I love this. This is amazing. It's magical.
Yeah, she was very honest in that way. And I think that did kind of make up for not showing Jason. One of the critiques I do have of Cam from different seasons is just how critical she was of Kathryn, and how much she kind of turned a bit more of a blind eye towards Thomas, which wasn't just her, it was like basically the entire cast.
Literally, yeah.
But sometimes that could be difficult to watch, to just see like how much of the heat Kathryn would get. Even though at times she definitely made it harder to root for her, you know, Kathryn's been through a lot, as we'll get into.
Yeah, well, and I think that's what is so relatable about Cam too, is that, you know, often a lot of us have these like instant judgments of people, or we reject people, we're not interested in hanging out with them, we don't want to like have, she says, I think in season 3 that she like doesn't want to invite drama into her life, and Thomas and Kathryn are drama, so she's like rejecting she's really rejecting Kathryn. It's true, it is a double standard, I completely agree with that, but she basically associates Kathryn with drama, so she doesn't even want to give her a shot. But then when she does eventually course correct, I think at the end of season 4, she like sits down with Kathryn, she hears her out, she like understands what, like starts to understand what she's been going through, and like why Kathryn was having problems with Thomas, why she was having problems with Landon, why she was having problems in general. And she then like really apologizes for the fact that like she behaved the way that she did. She didn't want to just, you know, continue to be like, oh well, you know, I've moved past it, so I don't need to apologize, I don't need to acknowledge the fact that like I did behave badly towards you.
That was one of the things that I remembered as well too. It was I believe it was a season 5 reunion. So that's after she had her baby, and she's like, yeah, now that I become a mother, like I see, like I can empathize with Kathryn so much more. And she's like, you know, you went through hell, and like I now see that you were the victim, and like you were manipulated by Thomas, and like I feel so sad for you, and I'm so sorry. And that was such like a nice moment to witness, and it must and it was like must have been so validating for Kathryn as well.
I think so. And that's just it. Like we finally get like the turning of the tides in the end of that season for Kathryn, like finally in her direction, and Thomas is the one that's going to be taken down.
Such a nice season to watch. Like the girls finally come together, and like Kathryn to when like, you know, crazy Ashley is there, and then all of like the girls just band together to Kathryn. She's like, wow, like last year none of these girls would even like, you know, talk to me.
Nobody would give me the time of day.
Not to have too many spoiler alerts of some people that we might be talking about a little bit later. So yeah, Cam was on the show for 6 seasons, and then right before season 7 we find out that she is not going to be returning. And the news at that time was because there was like a nasty rumor about Jason, her husband, that he had a mistress. And apparently Kathryn was the one who was kind of like spreading these rumors and was gonna put it on the show. So what's interesting about this is after the show came out, like the season came out in season 7, Cam actually had done a couple different interviews, and she said that she had already made the decision to leave before this had come out.
Interesting. Okay, so it wasn't that Kathryn brought it up on the show that she didn't return to filming.
No, so she had actually said that it happened before, so it's not like she was supposed to be in it and then she bailed. Okay. Which is kind of misleading. She said, yeah, that's just like what they tried to get to stir up like more ratings. She had actually said that she was just kind of like in a different place in her life, like being a mother now. And she said that like reality TV had kind of taken like a dark turn she didn't really want to be associated with. And then that's when she also said like it was her role to give opinions on everyone else's life and like keeping hers private, and she didn't feel like that was fair anymore. So it's kind of interesting.
She's very introspective. I love an introspective queen.
Right?
Yeah.
I do wonder what the dark turn was though, because it's like this show, like the beats of the show are very much driven by Kathryn and Thomas's very tumultuous relationship.
Yeah.
And that in itself was pretty dark. So
It was
like
very dark.
and that was like right from the beginning. So
Yeah,
it's like what
day one.
So yeah, I mean, I still think it had a lot to do with the Jason thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Maybe, and maybe, you know, maybe she had just kind of like outgrown it, right? Like I think in season 6 she turns 35. So like maybe, you know, you're a wife, you're a mother, you've had this like amazing like 6 years on this TV show. You know, maybe you've just kind of like done your time and you're ready to move on to the next chapter and you don't want to kind of keep on going on with that.
Well, yeah, especially once you have a kid and like when the show is still very much about like these Peter Pan boys who are like still partying all night and going out, like you could definitely understand that as well. So yeah, what she's up to now, she wrote a book and it's called
I think I actually read this book.
Really?
I think so, because this is how I found out that she was on The Real World and that
it was in the show that she was in The Real World.
Oh, it was in the show that I'm pretty sure she brings it up in the book though too.
Yeah, she does.
Hooked up with Brad.
Yeah,
who was on the challenge.
Yeah, and apparently she was on the challenge too, but it must have been like super early in the challenge.
Oh my God, are you serious? I have to go find that episode.
I know. I know. But yeah, so she wrote a memoir called You'll Thank Me One Day, Essays on Dating, Motherhood, and Everything in Between. If you have it, I would totally like to read it.
I think I have the ebook version of it, but yeah.
Yeah, and she talks about everything. She talks about The Real World. She talks about Southern Charm. That's where we learned all that stuff with like Whitney and how she started on it. And also like her struggles with motherhood and postpartum depression and like all these things like that, and it is equally unfiltered. So
cool.
I would definitely like to read it. And she still seems very close to all of the cast. Like she's still close to Whitney and Shep and Austin, Naomi and Chelsea.
Yeah.
You know what is interesting too that I read or that I saw as like a snapshot in the book is that she met Austin and Craig and Shep when she was approached to be on the show. Like Whitney approached her to be on the show and then was like, hey, like meet these two guys, and then they like had lunch together and she was like, oh yeah, like this is gonna be great.
Oh, that's
so they
amazing.
weren't like longtime friends.
That makes a lot of sense, but like geez, they also just had such instant chemistry. I'm really impressed by that. Like they definitely felt like they had known each other forever.
I know, it's so crazy.
Oh, they're good actors. If they were acting, they were good. If they actually had this chemistry, they were also good. That's so cool. That's really interesting. I do agree that like the show definitely took a turn once she left. Like I think that we felt the presence, the shift, right? When like she like was no longer on the show. I felt like she was kind of a grounding force for the show, and without her presence, like it just feels like it's been kind of like floundering for like the last like 3 seasons.
Yeah, it has. Not unlike a lot of these other shows though, where I feel like we got so invested when it started with the cast being a little bit younger, and then like they all grow up and like it struggles to be like how much do we stay towards what it was, and how do we you know change and like where does that leave us?
Well, and like we talk about Vanderpump Rules all the time and how it was like lightning in a bottle of like those like the moment that they were capturing just being absolutely perfect, and Southern Charm is 100% that, right? Like they literally managed to capture Kathryn and Thomas meeting, them having this like crazy tumultuous relationship. Actually, no, we should just go into Thomas now. Because he's our next person that we're going to be talking about. So Thomas Ravenel also started on the first season of Southern Charm, and he's actually the first person that we meet on the show. He literally, like his voice and like his confessional are like the first like moments that we get about Southern Charm and about Charleston in general, which I think is
and about him and his being like a failed or like a disgraced politician.
We find out right away about the fact that he's like a disgraced politician. He talks about how, you know, his family's been there since the 1680s. He lives in one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in the US per capita, whatever that means.
Which is a fact that he knows.
It's a fact that he knows. He's aware of it. Because I think when that stuff is important to you, it's like really important to you, right? So
I mean, the Ravenel Bridge we see once an episode.
Well, there you go. Exactly. They're talking about the fact that like his dad's name's like on the bridge, and it's a whole thing. So so Thomas is definitely kind of like the person that brings us into the show right off the get-go, which I think is kind of interesting, because I think if you think about like unreliable narrators and the way that like we get Thomas's point of view kind of like right away, and we then follow for like the next few seasons of kind of like feeling like, oh, woe is Thomas. Like I wonder if we're kind of like, we feel that way because we're set up with him being kind of like our first big character, our first big get, right? Because he probably was a pretty big get for this show that like,
oh yeah,
you know, was just like a random.
but it was also just so confusing. I definitely remember trying to start Southern Charm a couple times, just being
Yeah.
like, why is there this 50-year-old dude and then
Yeah.
this like 20-year-old girl and then
Yeah.
like some people in between, and
Yeah.
like what's happening here?
And why is everybody acting like it's like super normal that like he's pursuing this like 21-year-old?
Yeah.
Like what, even in the one of the first scenes, or at least yeah, for first parts of the episode, he's talking about how he wants to get back into politics and how he you know, he needs to settle down because he's been indicted. He's has these like drug charges against him, and now he needs to like re-enter the political career, and he to be able to do that he needs to have a wife. And like his friend is literally being like, well, what about Kathryn?
Yeah,
And
like
it's
how about this child bride?
yeah, exactly. And he keeps on like saying things like she's
It's
like
so true.
scion of these two great Charleston like old Southern families, and it's just like, but she's literally, anyways, whatever. We won't get into that because we'll go talk about Kathryn eventually as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Thomas is a very interesting character from the get-go. Let's just put it that. For some memorable moments for Mr. Thomas, do you have any that kind of like stick out right away for you, Carrie?
So the one that comes to mind right off the bat is the
Yeah.
Raise the Roof campaign. His campaign video.
Yeah, in season 2.
Like Thomas raises the roof, but he won't raise your taxes or something like that.
Yeah. And Kathryn gets so upset. She can't believe that she's like, this is not serious.
Yeah. Also, the one it was directed and produced by Whitney, of course. Filmmaker.
Directorial debut. I don't know about that.
His all of his like dinner parties from hell where he would like invite people over and then just like say horrible insults and scream at them and like chase them out of the house.
Yeah, those were also pretty bad.
And also just in general being a horrible garbage trash human.
Yes. Yeah, that is unfortunately probably what we will remember Thomas for the most out of all of both Southern Charm and just, you know, for the rest of our lives. Unless like something really crazy happens, like he becomes like a Mother Teresa. But yeah, so definitely a lot of vindictive fights with Kathryn, and, you know, just like always trying to control the purse strings around their relationship, always trying to like control ownership of their children, always trying to like, you know, have other people question Kathryn's sobriety and, you know, not have anybody question his sobriety, kind of being a pretty key factor there. I think also one scene where he goes out to, I think it's lunch with his dad, and they leave like the most abysmal tip in the world for this poor waitress that like had to serve these really old gentlemen. Let's call them that.
Oh also, I just remembered him trying to speak French. That was another one.
God, yeah. So he'd go to the restaurant. Escargot. Je voudrais les escargots.
Oh my god, so horrible.
It's so good. It's so good. I just feel like it was so interesting. He was always using this show as an opportunity to show himself playing polo, or maybe he really just does genuinely play that much polo that they happened to always be filming it, but he was always like, he'd be like so sweaty in his like t-shirt. And there's one scene, I think in season 3, when Kathryn's come to the polo match. She's supposed to like drop off Kenzie so that Kenzie can watch her dad play polo. And he like, Kathryn leaves because she's upset that JD and Liz are there. And he gets like so upset, right? He's like so irate that she's done this, and he like just like tears off his shirt, and he's all like gross and sweaty looking. I'm just like, ugh, it's like burned in my brain for the rest of my life.
Oh gosh.
Anyways,
yeah.
That's Thomas.
Yeah, he has to go down as like probably top reality television villain of all time, just because like I really just think he's a horrible person.
Yeah, and like I think that what he's done to like the like 3 women basically on this show, plus like other things beyond that like we'll kind of talk about a little bit briefly. It's not good. It's not good. He's not a good person. He's not a good dude.
No.
And yet he fooled us, or fooled portions of us for a while, and probably still there. I'm sure there's still some Thomas supporters out there. Like, I wouldn't put it past anybody, unfortunately.
Oh, he just gets so irrationally irate and like angry, and like just his treatment of Kathryn is just she was a child when they
literally
met.
21 years old. Like, she was nothing. And like, just like hearing him talk about her as like, you know, what was it, Senator Barbie or something, and just
actually in
really not great.
No, I was rewatching like some of the episodes of each season just to kind of like refresh my memory, because I haven't seen it in a little bit. And there was one, what season was it? When Kathryn has Kenzie, like she has
it's season
what's
2.
It called? Yeah. So she, oh my God, I'm like, ownership, that's not the right word.
She has custody.
She has custody.
That might be season 3. She's like pregnant with Saint, and she has custody of so
Kenzie. She has custody of Kenzie, and he's like, oh, like unfortunately, like in Charleston, like the mother pretty much just gets custody. But that means that I don't have to pay child support. And he was giving her like $2,500 a month to care for like her kid and her newborn baby, and like just would like not give her any money when he is extremely wealthy.
Well, that might bring us nicely into the present day of where Thomas is, because Thomas this year was awarded sole permanent custody of his children, or at least his 2 children with Kathryn, because he does have a third child. He had a third child in 2020. I think it's actually very briefly brought up in the show, I think in season 7. I feel like it's at Leva's, like she's at like a party, and like Kathryn finds out, and like anyways. But so he had a third child, so he now has 3
with another woman who's not his like partner.
Yeah, well, I think she's an ex-fiance. So I don't know if that I feel like she was an ex like previously, and then they had a baby together. Yeah.
See, like most like, I don't, how does this man keep having children?
I don't know. He's very fertile, apparently. Gross. Well, and so the crazy thing is about this like custody battle like finally coming to an end, and you know, it's been resolved by the courts, so we can't really like fully speak to it. I'm sure everybody has their own opinions on, you know, what permanent sole custody must be like. But this custody battle has been going on since 2016, basically, right? That's 6 or 7 years depending on how you count it. So I guess having resolution is at least one good thing, and hopefully, you know, but as you say, like, to think that like he was giving Kathryn like $2,500 a month when he was like a millionaire living off on like his plantation from like ridiculously inherited wealth, and like, you know, a bridge dedicated to his family. Like he's doing okay, and he's specifically like moved away from Charleston, so he's moved further away from Kathryn to make it harder for her to be able to basically have like access to her children. And she gets to kind of like see them, like I think it was a couple days, like she gets to see them on weekends between like 9 and 5, and it has to be in the presence of either Thomas or a like a witness, basically like a guardian or some kind of person. So it's pretty rough.
What does that mean though? Like, does that mean that that's like, can she contest that like in the future? Like,
I don't know. I think she'd have to have the financial resources to do that, and I think she'd have to
that's such a and like honestly, I feel like this relationship is just so messy and like difficult to talk about, and like to even understand all the intricacies, and there's like failings on both sides, right? Like in different aspects. Like it was never a fair fight either, like in terms of like the court, like how is she ever going to,
she doesn't have the financial resources to keep this going on forever, so that's it has to come to an end, unfortunately.
That makes me really sad.
I know, it's pretty heartbreaking. There's some other stuff about Thomas. So let's talk briefly about his social media.
Oh gosh, he's such a disaster.
So he did a revamp on his Instagram recently, and he's decided that he's not going to show his children's faces anymore. He did weirdly post a picture of Elon Musk with 2 of his children, to like kind of make this announcement, so that was strange.
Okay.
Beyond that, he has also had some recent Twitter rampages. I think he like just generally is like a supporter of going on little Twitter rants. And obviously when the most recent season of Southern Charm came out, he decided that he needed to go give us all of his opinions, and that includes calling Leva boring. Basically, which I think is pretty unfair, because she's at least on the show. She's showing up, right? She's doing her job.
Also,
what she's supposed to do.
He's so weird. In researching Cam, something that actually came up was one of his tweets.
Oh, God.
When she left, and he said, "The truth is never terrible. Cameran and Patricia are terrible. Anyone who falls for Bravo editing BS has a very small brain." Which is again just like
general feelings.
Like, okay, like you're angry at the show because like you didn't get edited bad, dude. Like this is
if anything, you got a good edit for like a few seasons. Like, come on.
This is a character trait, to quote Ariana. But like, just one of those like biting the hand that feeds you again, like just being like, oh, like this show is trash and like this is stupid. And then someone's like, oh, how are you doing now that you're off the show? And he said, I am doing fine now that the liars and losers / trash that are connected to Southern Charm are unconnected to me now.
Great. Good for you. So you live in a hole somewhere.
Yeah, like definitely have a lot of growth, sir.
You're doing amazing, sweetie. But anyway, so Thomas is basically, in summary, up to the things that Thomas has always been up to. He continues to be a businessman. He continues to be a polo player. And he's a father. So there you go. That's also according to his Instagram too. So there's a little tidbit in there.
Great.
I think one of the things that we also know is that there were some charges, and he did plead guilty in 2019 to one particular third degree assault and battery. We won't say exactly kind of like what happened, but if you feel the need to go into it, you can go look it up online. It was against his ex-nanny, and it resulted in him paying a $500 fine, not going to jail.
It was just a $500 fine.
Well, so it's a $500 fine, which I think is for like committing the crime, and then he made an $80,000 donation in her name to a survivor charity in lieu of paying her damages. So I think that was at least, probably the best resolution that we could hope for. There have been other accusations made against him, but none of the anything that was happened and was settled outside of court. So this is the only one that he's actually. So there you go. That's Thomas. Yeah, ending on a not so cheery note, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But anyways,
so someone that you may not have thought about in a while, but was actually on season 1 was Jenna.
Jenna, how could you forget Jenna?
I mean, I definitely forgot that Jenna was on Southern Charm, but yeah, she was the only other female cast member aside from Cam. She really kind of stood out. I guess she was like the fun, cool, like rocker chick who didn't, I don't know, like wasn't your typical Charleston type of girl.
Yeah, not a Southern belle by any means, and not even probably like Cam is a self-professed like modern Southern woman. I don't even know if Jenna would like go that far to say that. Like I don't think she'd associate it with it at all.
I don't think so. She always felt like very out of place in the season. Like I don't even really remember that much about her. The main thing that I remember is she had this like really grand like 4-story house that apparently she had bought herself, but then also unrelated had a much older wealthy boyfriend
who had a private jet.
So like some Lala vibes going on there, except for unlike Lala, who just like straight up said that she got like a free Range Rover like the second day after a date. Jenna, when asked where she gets her money to buy such a house, says my bank account. Like
investments
and gambling or something. What do you remember from Jenna?
I mean, I do remember the PJ. I just remember her being like a bit not even like a fish out of water, just being like such a, oh, you're like you don't seem like you would hang out with any of these people in real life. And maybe with the exception of Whitney, because I do think she was like Whitney's friend, and so that's
Yeah.
kind of where the connection came from. I always thought it was like super interesting that like Shep kind of was like a little bit into her.
Yeah. But I think
But
Shep's
yeah,
just into like any woman that he wants to
yeah,
just like try to see
fair
if
enough.
they'll like
And
get
she
with
was like
him.
legitimately like very pretty. Like she was like gorgeous. She just had like a slightly, you know, what is it? Unconventional
And
hairstyle.
yeah. And like her friendship with Whitney was so odd too, because like season one, Whitney was so
Mm,
creepy.
so
Like
different. So different. Oh my God.
there's
Yeah, with the hair, like it's just like
he's somehow gotten like more
he's
tolerable
had
as
such a
the
glow up.
seasons go on,
He's
which
had a
is so
total
funny
glow up.
because he is like he was the executive producer. Like
Yeah, I
he had
know.
all the control and that's how he
Still
looked.
how he looked. Yeah, I just don't know if it was the fashion at the time. Like it's like a little emo-y maybe, but yeah, he's definitely looks a lot better now. I don't
Yeah.
know if he's
And
got like I don't know, Botox or like something, but
just like he was very like the awkwardness and like a really big
yeah.
storyline was that he like lived with his mom.
Yeah, and also like dated these really inappropriately younger women.
Yeah, that too.
uh,
But yeah, so what's interesting about Jenna,
mhm.
in doing some research is after she left the show, it was actually alleged that almost her entire storyline of like her being kind of like a well-to-do like girl from
Mm.
Charleston was fake. And
Ooh.
apparently production had rented that house and she didn't actually live in that house.
No way. Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, but this is like from Daily Mail, so I don't know like if this
Okay.
is
I mean,
confirmed, but
I like it. It's fun, no
yeah,
matter what.
right? Like I would
Yeah.
believe it because like it was like she had such an evasive answer to it.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. Like, whether it was production or your like older rich boyfriend paying for it, like, it wasn't you.
Yeah,
It
and
wasn't investments,
may
unfortunately.
not even have been from Charleston. So
Yeah, which makes sense.
yeah,
uh,
that's really all I remember about her though.
I think that's very fair. I mean, she was only like how long? Like season one was what, like 10 episodes
That's
max?
true.
Like it's short.
And then they
And like
never spoke about her again.
yeah, exactly. And nobody was ever like, oh, where did Jenna go? Yeah, and I think it's so interesting that Kathryn like technically was like a friend of that season, and like Jenna was like the full-time cast member, and
Like
like
what?
the performances that we got were just so hugely different.
Yeah, I was shocked when I found out that Kathryn was a friend of first season.
I know, robbed. But now that I hear that it's Southern Gentlemen that it was originally started as, okay, like I guess it makes a little bit more sense, but
But
still.
then still, why was Jenna? Anyways, it's
Anyways,
so strange.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so what is she up to now? It looks like
Yeah,
she moved to LA pretty much in 2014, like after
right
season one.
after. Yeah, cool.
And that's pretty
Perfect.
much all I know about her. She kind of looks like Sheena.
She does kind of look like Sheena. I did see a photo of her recently. So yeah, she very much has that like California kind of like look. I think that makes a lot of sense.
But like something
Well,
about her face really looks like old Sheena, like
is she
before
is she on Instagram?
she is.
Yeah. Can we
Which is
stalk
where you
her?
can see that she looks like Sheena. She
Yeah.
just looks like she's like living life and traveling and like, you know,
Is it just Jenna
outside of the
King?
public eye. So yeah, that's Jenna. Just like a fever dream of like, did it even happen? And actually, Craig has said in a Watch What Happens Live that they talk every like few months. So he's still in
Oh,
contact with her.
that's cool. So if we ever have Craig on the show, we can be like, hey, what's Jenna up to?
It's just so funny. Like, what is it like to be a one-hit wonder of reality
Yeah.
television? Like, does that come up in your daily life? Like,
Yeah, like I was on one season of Southern Charm. I was on like the craziest season of, well, I don't know what the craziest
no,
season of
that
Southern
season
Charm, but
itself was not crazy, but the craziest thing, you're always going to remember where you were when you finished the first few, like you finished the last episode of Southern
yeah,
Charm season 1 and Kathryn and Thomas break up and you're like, good,
good,
that's for the
great.
best. I'm
That's how that was
glad.
supposed to happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then it turns black and you hear a baby cry and you go, what?
Oh, don't
I remember texting you.
I know. I remember like not saying anything and being like, You're just going to learn it on your own.
Was this the original Scandival?
This was crazy. Like when that happened, like that was just, it was even better than Scandival, quite frankly. Like it was earth shattering. It was so massive because it's like literally like a child being brought into the world. Like,
well, that's just the thing with Southern Charm. Is what's funny is like when we were doing this, we're looking back and I'm like, I remember how I felt about people kind of, but like the really nice thing about Southern Charm is that like you feel differently about the characters almost every season. Like no one has a consistently good run, no one has a consistently bad run. And then I also like, I don't remember like specific moments the way that you do in Vanderpump Rules, where you're like, you know, Jack's going to Vegas on Stassi's birthday and like Schwartz pouring a drink on her head and like the boys, like you don't remember those types of things. But I just remember, you know, loving or hating people, and I remember that it was incredible. And then the main things that you pretty much remember is like these big life moments of Thomas and Kathryn's relationship,
because they were the drama of the show.
It really was. So as much as everyone like can give them shit, like I don't know if there would be a show without them.
Oh no like no, this would not have been picked up for another season if it had not been for them. Like that baby saved this show. Oh my god, like, I know.
Well, you'd be reading Kenzie like a bedtime story. And then you were born and the show continued.
And everything happened. Got picked up for another 8 seasons because of you. Well, and that's just it. Like you don't, like I always think of like Vanderpump Rules or even like Beverly Hills, like Real Housewives of Beverly Hills in like the eras, right? Like there's kind of like season 1 and 2, maybe season 3, season 4 and 5, like they're all kind of like sectioned kind of that way. And I guess you could do that for Southern Charm a little bit, but there's predictably things that kind of happen in each season of Southern Charm, or at least there was, right? There was always the Miss Pat kind of doing the boys' night dinner that with the guys, and they'd go to like a Hilton Head or a Nashville. They'd do like a group like, you know, trip somewhere. They'd go to the Keys, and then they'd kind of just like have dinners and they'd kind of like hang out and they just like socialize.
Dinner parties, many dinner parties at their houses.
Little backyard barbecues, going to different like delicious looking barbecue restaurants, like, you know, eating shrimp and just delicious stuff everywhere. So like really good food, but for the most part, like there isn't like massive things. It's just like the interconnected relationships with these people and how they all kind of like hang out and hook up and mess up and what happens next. And
like the drama is so real, like more than any other show. The drama, like you're literally talking about people like gaining and losing custody of their children. Like it's wild.
It is and it's not the like ostentatious kind of like wealth. Like there is obviously that with like, especially with like Patricia and with Thomas and, you know, these people owning like plantations and stuff.
That was so money. Weird watching. And I'm like, we all just talk like we're just talking about their plantations. It's just normal. Okay.
It's very strange. But yeah, so it's just but with all of that aside, the core parts of the story feel very normal, right? Like it is your friend group kind of like having these kind of like issues and like mistrusts and bringing up the drama and whatever. So good.
It is just such a good show. Like you have to get through season 1, which is confusing, and then it's just like, oh, it's so incredible.
But even then, season 1, like it's not that bad. Of all the things that I've seen, like Southern Hospitality season 1, Southern Charm season 1.
But yeah, who's our next person?
So our next person is Chelsea. We wanted to end on a fun one. I think that she was another kind of like fan favorite of the group. She's brought in as Cam's friend. We actually technically get our first glimpse of Chelsea in season 3, episode 2, when Cam hosts a dinner party at her house. She is like, you know, she's a married lady. She wants to be able to kind of like host Patricia. She wants to be able to host her friends and do like a nice thing for all of them. It's obviously like super enjoyable to watch Cam kind of like, you know, not even know what kind of salt she has at home, like good stuff like that. So if you want to go back and watch it, season 3, episode 2. So very, very, very brief glimpse of Chelsea there, especially because it's established there that like Shep and Chelsea know each other, and Landon makes a little comment about how Shep knows every pretty girl in Charleston.
Landon is so jealous.
Landon is so jealous, so salty. But so then in season 4, Eliza Limehouse has a pool party to kick off, season 4, episode 1. And this is where we first meet Chelsea. She arrives at the party. We know that she's friends with Cam. So that's kind of like set up. And actually in her first scene, we're establishing that like Shep and Chelsea are like the like male and female equivalents of one another. And Cam
Why would Chelsea be the male Shep?
Well, less so in kind of like the dating history kind of way, and more in like their aura and like their general ways of being, right? Being very laid back. Cam actually says, and I wrote it down, they have similar interests. They both like to hunt. They both like to fish. She surfs. She's literally the female version of Shep. They are a match made in heaven. So,
oh my god,
those are Cam's feelings.
Cam.
I know, because Cam really wanted that to happen.
I do remember she kept pushing that together, even though
like throughout season 4,
Chelsea liked Austin.
And
then she kept just being like, Shep, like why would you put Shep on anyone?
And then Shep,
especially your friend.
Of all people. And then Shep messes up. He does a little misstep, and I think that really seals the deal that it's not going to happen between the two of them. And anyways, Chelsea is otherwise interested. She has her feelings for Austin. Chelsea, one fun thing about, well, I don't know if it's a fun thing about Chelsea. Chelsea's a hairdresser. And I just think that this is amazing because it's such a good like plot device to be able to like have like a scene where somebody like literally just like comes into somebody's salon and like they just like cut their hair, and they get to have that like time of like they're dishing, they're like talking about their lives. So that happens with Naomi a few times, that happens with Shep a bunch of times. Like I feel like Shep is always in Chelsea's hair, like a chair, getting his hair cut, doing a little bit of dishing. But yeah, so that is Chelsea. What about you, Carrie? Any memorable moments of Chelsea?
So that's the funny thing is that I remember that I love Chelsea.
Yeah.
And I can't remember like a specific Chelsea moment, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's how I was feeling as well. I think Chelsea, like what we love about her is that she puts the boys in their place. She's very outspoken. She's not like loud and dramatic. Like she doesn't like take over scenes or anything, but like her presence is felt, and like her impact is there without having to be explosive in any kind of way.
She feels very grounding.
Very grounding. Yes. Yeah. I think that's a good way to look at her. She feels like she's like an earth sign.
Yeah. No, that's it. I remember like all the reasons that you love Cam, but then I think we see her integrated with the girls a lot more.
Especially in season 5.
Well, that's it. And like I wish I like had done a rewatch more recently because I'm having to like pull from memory. But I did watch like parts of season 5, and I'm just like, this is so good. And it was it was the first 2 episodes of season 5 where Shep has his first big boy adult party at 38 years old. Like they made the biggest deal. This is his first adult party,
and he just yells at Craig the entire time.
He basically gets Craig to cook so that he could like yell and make fun of him for like the whole time. And then Craig gets like really rattled. Yeah, they love pushing Craig's buttons.
Big time.
But yeah, so there's a scene with all the girls at Naomi's new house because Craig and Naomi had just broken up, and then Chelsea was like no longer with Austin, and Dani had just like gone through a breakup with her fiance.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's all of them together, and I feel like you more so see Chelsea as being like in Cam's circle, but then she's here with these groups, like this group of girls, and like she gets along with them so well, and like she's just like they all just have each other's back so beautifully. It was this, I'm going so on a tangent here, but it was a scene when JD and Liz were breaking up. Yeah, that was her name, right? Liz.
Yeah, Liz. Yeah.
And all the girls were so angry at JD because he was like allegedly hooking up with other girls. and he came to the party and he tried to be like, oh, woe is me, and all the women just called him out like immediately. They were like, you are not spinning that narrative. And it was just like, where were these girls for Kathryn?
Right.
But like, if they could have been there, and then they were there for her later.
They were especially Ashley. In that season.
No, I don't know why I brought that up. Just because Chelsea was there and like she just had the girls back. Like she wouldn't shy away from it. She would add in her opinion, but she wouldn't do it just to, like, stir the pot and be messy. No. Like it was really just being like a loyal friend.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think that you're hitting the nail on the head with that one. I think some like nice moments as well that I do kind of remember. And one thing that I particularly loved watching on TV was her renovating her house.
Oh yeah.
It's a weird little detail. She's now renovated like 2 houses. So if you want to go check her Instagram highlight out, you can see her second renovation.
So pretty.
It's happened in 2022. But yeah, so I really enjoyed just kind of like watching her, I think, just like have her kind of like lifestyle, right? She's in her 30s. She has like her career set. She like knows what she wants to do. She's just living her life like very independently. And watching her kind of like renovate her house and like make her like dream home, like is just kind of like such a lovely kind of like little encouraging thing, I think, on my side. So
it's true.
I really liked getting to see that. That was, even though she's not like explosive or like super memorable, I think that was like a fun little thing that we got to see into.
But you need people like that on a cast, and I think she's like consistently a fan favorite too, and like everyone was so upset when she left. And especially that like upset. All the girls left together, like we're just like, what I
know. We're left with these guys, come on.
And also she like her love for her dog, I know, like,
Tyson
so much.
Oh, he's so cute. He passed away last year as well. I know, so sad. Obviously, you know, she's left the show. She left, I think, at the end of season 6. So she's had a few years off of reality TV. I think she is still kind of doing like some influencing. She still has like a pretty good number of like followers. I think she has like over 700,000, which is like pretty crazy. So I think she gets like some good like little Instagram deals here and there for that. She did influence me to buy a dress last year, so she's quite successful at it by my accounts.
Nice.
She is also still working as a hairdresser. She is at the moment pregnant, like quite pregnant. She's actually, I think at the time of this filming, she's in between week 39 and 40 of her pregnancy, so a little Libra baby is going to be born any day now.
That's so amazing.
Very exciting. And yeah, so she's still doing kind of like her thing and living her life, and just excited to see what chapters are ahead for her next.
I'm so happy for her. I know I saw a picture that was like her, Naomi, and Cam at like a baby shower.
It was so cute. I know. It's also really funny because she's gone onto Instagram and be like, and I think she posted a like a picture of like her like pregnant and everything. And she says it's like the first time in her life that her thighs have touched.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was like,
I was just like, oh, okay, must be nice. Cool, good for you.
I've had another pregnant woman tell me that too. I was
really?
Like,
oh my god.
Yeah. That's great. I mean, I'm so happy for you.
Yeah, totally. She was a skinny mini on the show, but still, it's just like, oh, okay. Don't know if I needed that information, but you do you, Phil.
I just love her. I also love the way that she just like didn't put up with Austin. Like at the end, like he was just like, I don't understand. Like I said, like, why aren't we together? And she's like, like, you go out and party, and like I am a homebody, and like I don't live that life, and like we are not compatible. And he's like, I don't understand.
I'm so confused. And then he goes on to date Madison.
Who was also a hairdresser.
He was also a hairdresser. I think at one point there was a plot line where they were like potentially gonna like open a salon together, but I think that was for the best that did not happen, because that is not. I don't think Chelsea needs that in her. Like I don't think they would like mesh well as like co-owners of a business. Like I
can't see that. I miss her. Honestly, I'm really excited to go back and continue watching season 5, and then also just continuing to rewatch everything.
Yeah, it's literally also good. It's all worth a rewatch.
Yes. So you may have noticed we said we are going to do 8. We've done 4. This is going to be a 2-parter because it was just too much to say about everyone.
Too much good stuff.
You legit to quit.
There you go.
So we're going to be doing our second part next week with the rest of the infamous cast. Obviously, you may have seen that we didn't include some people.
A couple people
Miss
off.
Kathryn, we obviously got to get
make some
into.
cuts.
Yeah, I mean, no, we're gonna talk about them next
yeah,
week.
like cuts from now. Yeah, not cuts forever.
Kathryn would always make it into every
she's definitely
cut.
making it on the list.
We gotta have something to look forward to.
Exactly.
So before you go, if you could like and subscribe, if not already, we are so close to our goal of 1,000 subscribers. We're almost 50 to get there. If you could do us a favor, help us reach our first goal. We're gonna do something really excited on our episode where we reach 1,000 subscribers. And let us know who you
around for that.
yeah, let us know who you miss, who you don't miss. Are you watching Southern Charm?